If you've ever picked up a small stone in nature and thought it looked a little different, you've probably asked yourself, could this be worth anything? Well, in that moment, there are only two possibilities. First, you just ignored a common rock, or second, you walked right past a golden opportunity. But here's the real question. No matter what kind of stone you come across, how can you know which ones have value and which ones don't? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in today's video. On this channel, we've already shown how to find many types of gemstones in nature, even meteorites that look like ugly rocks but can be worth millions of dollars, often overlooked by people who don't know what they're looking at. The challenge is simple. Among so many stones, it's not easy to tell which ones are valuable and which are just ordinary. That's why I've made a list of the 5 main gemstones you could actually find right in your own backyard. Which means that if you pay close attention, chances are you'll end up spotting at least one of these 5 stones during your lifetime. And don't be fooled. Even though some of them are easier to find, they can still be worth far more than you'd imagine. So you might be asking yourself, but how valuable are we talking? Well, valuable enough to add a few hundred or even a few thousand more dollars to your bank account. But here's the real advantage of these gemstones. It's not only about their price, it's also about their quantity. Because when you find one, there's a good chance you'll find several more in the same spot. Unlike the rarest precious gems, which often require years of searching just to find a single crystal, many of these semi-precious stones show up in groups. That's why I want you to pay close attention to every stone you see in this video. I'm confident it will change the way you look at the ground beneath your feet. And more than that, these 5 gems can help you uncover real treasures that no one else has noticed in your own region. As always, this is another video designed to help you find and identify simple stones that can carry surprisingly high value. So remember one important thing. Every stone has its own unique value, whether it's considered precious or semi-precious. The value of a gemstone will always depend on its quality. In other words, the clearer the crystal and the more vivid its color, the more expensive it will be. Take emeralds, for example. They're highly valuable stones, but not every emerald is top tier. Some may show a nice green color, yet look opaque and dull instead of bright and transparent. What many beginners don't realize is that in the gem market, there are internationally accepted parameters to define a stone's value: color, clarity, cut, and carat weight. Among these, color is always the most important factor because it immediately defines the gem's visual impact. An emerald with a deep, even green tone and no faded zones can be worth many times more than another emerald of the same size, but with weak color. Clarity refers to how many visible inclusions the stone has. Things like small fractures, gas bubbles, or other minerals trapped inside the crystal. In emeralds, some inclusions are tolerated, but when transparency is high, the price goes up dramatically. Cutting is another critical factor. A gem can have amazing color and decent clarity, but if it's poorly cut with wrong proportions, it will lose brilliance and value. That's why many rough stones only show their true potential after being handled by an experienced cutter. The same principle applies to quartz, chalcedony, and agates. Stones that may look ordinary in the wild but can become impressive gemstones once properly cut. So yes, even an opaque emerald is still valuable. But a crystal clear emerald can be worth far more than a cloudy one. And the exact same logic applies to semi-precious stones, the most common ones you can actually find in nature. To understand this better, think of an agate found in a river. If its colors are pale and its internal patterns are poorly defined, the value will be low. But if that same agate has sharp layers, strong contrast, and translucency, it can sell for much higher prices. The same goes for jasper. Vivid tones, unique patterns, and unusual color variations are what collectors look for. In practice, you can apply some simple field tests. Hold the stone against the light, check for color uniformity, feel its weight compared to its size, and even try the glass test. If the stone scratches ordinary glass, that means it has at least hardness 6 on the Mohs scale, which already indicates it could be a gemstone. And that's why I'm going to show you what level of quality and color a stone needs to actually have value. When it comes to semi-precious gems, the main thing we're looking for is always a beautiful color. So let's start with the first gemstone you might come across in nature. This one is not the easiest to find or identify, especially if you're a beginner. But if you get lucky, you might stumble upon it. I'm talking about opal. We've talked about this stone a lot on the channel before, and just how valuable it can be. In fact, opal is considered one of the most valuable gemstones in the world. Opal is mainly formed from hydrated silica. It originates when silica-rich groundwater seeps into cracks of sedimentary or volcanic rocks. Over time, as the water evaporates, it leaves behind tiny silica spheres. These spheres organize themselves and create the unique play of color that only opal has. It's this internal structure that diffracts light and produces flashes of green, blue, orange, and red. The more intense and varied the play of color, the higher the stone's value. There are different types of opals, each with its own market. The most expensive are fire opals, with colors ranging from bright orange to deep red. Then there are precious opals, famous for their rainbow-like effect, and the rare black opals, where vivid colors contrast against a dark background. On the international market, a fine black opal can be worth more than a diamond of the same weight. But not every opal you find in nature will shine like that. Many times you'll come across common opals, which don't show play of color, but still have value as ornamental material or for collectors. To tell them apart from worthless rocks, look for a glassy luster, translucency, and a lighter weight compared to quartz or calcite. A simple test is to check the surface under light. If you see flashes of color that shift as you move the stone, you're looking at a precious opal. In practice, countries like Australia, Ethiopia, and Mexico are the largest producers. But there are also opal deposits in the United States, especially in Nevada and Idaho. In these regions, hobbyists have found opals right in volcanic deposits without needing deep mining. That means you could literally stumble upon an opal while hiking. Now, why am I including opal in this video? Because unlike other gemstones, opal doesn't always require heavy digging. You could literally trip over an opal deposit, and it's important to know its main features. Opal is lightweight compared to most stones. It feels smooth like plastic, and it can show almost any color. You might not find a top-quality black opal right away, but you could still discover semi-precious opals that carry real market value. And here's the key. That value depends mainly on color. Opals can be purple, yellow, green, blue, or even transparent. Semi-precious opals can sell for anywhere between $20 and $5,000 per kilo in raw form. Just like opal, another stone you'll definitely come across in nature, and maybe you've already seen it if you've been following this channel, is jasper. If you're not familiar with it, jasper is often recognized as a reddish or brownish stone. But in reality, jaspers can be found in many different colors, and each variation often has its own commercial name. Jasper is actually a microcrystalline variety of quartz belonging to the larger chalcedony family. It forms through the deposition of silica in sedimentary or volcanic rocks, often mixed with iron oxides, and that's what gives it its common red, brown, or yellowish tones. Depending on the minerals present though, jasper can also appear green, bluish-green, black, or even multicolored. This variety is so vast that hundreds of different trade names exist in the gem world. Some of the most popular types include picture jasper, known for its natural patterns that resemble landscapes, Dalmatian jasper, a white stone with black spots, dragon blood, jasper from Australia with deep green tones and striking red veins, and mookaite, also from Australia, which combines reds, yellows, and creams in the same specimen. These varieties are highly prized by collectors and artisans alike. What really defines a jasper's value is its visual pattern. The sharper and more unique the natural drawings, the greater the demand. When cut into cabochons or polished, some pieces reveal shapes that resemble trees, rivers, and even human figures. Because of that, some jaspers are called nature's paintings and are highly sought after in the ornamental stone market. Here in the United States, jasper is often found in areas with ancient volcanic formations, like Oregon, Arizona, and California. Walking along dry riverbeds or eroded hillsides, it's not uncommon to spot jasper fragments mixed with quartz and agate. A practical tip, check the weight. Jasper is usually denser than similar-looking pebbles and often shows a smoother surface when naturally polished by water. There are so many commercial names and varieties of jasper that we could spend hours just listing them. But here's the rule you need to remember. The more colorful, vibrant, and visually unique the stone is, the more valuable it becomes. In fact, in the United States, there are still vast unexplored areas where you could come across a jasper that hasn't even been cataloged yet. Maybe even a completely new type that doesn't appear in any gemology book. That's why paying attention is so important. The brighter and more striking the colors, the higher its value as a commercial stone. Raw jasper usually sells for anywhere between $10 and $250 per kilo, depending on its quality and rarity. Another stone you've almost certainly come across before, and one of the most frequently mentioned here on the channel, is agate. Agates are a type of chalcedony, a microcrystalline variety of quartz. They form inside cavities of volcanic or sedimentary rocks, as silica-rich solutions slowly fill the empty spaces layer by layer. Over millions of years, this process creates the banded patterns that make agates so distinctive. Because of that, no two agates are ever exactly alike. This uniqueness is also what defines their value. Common agates with grayish or brown tones tend to have little market demand. But agates with bright, vivid colors, red, blue, orange, or green, and strong contrast between their bands are highly valued by collectors and artisans. Some are even nicknamed mineral landscapes, since their natural patterns can look like mountains, deserts, or even abstract paintings. Not all agates are transparent, but when they do show translucency, their value increases dramatically. Once polished, their internal layers reveal a glassy luster that turns an ordinary-looking stone into a stunning gem for jewelry or decoration. That's why polished agates are sold worldwide, from small cabochons to massive slabs used in interior design. Agates are very common in rivers, especially in regions with volcanic history. Flowing water frees them from their host rocks and carries them downstream into gravel beds. In Brazil, the state of Rio Grande do Sul is one of the largest producers in the world. In the United States, states like Montana, South Dakota, and Oregon are famous for producing agates of exceptional quality. And even amateur collectors often find great samples in rivers and open fields. This abundance is why many people ignore agates, assuming they're just ordinary pebbles. But that's a mistake. Some varieties are extremely rare and can reach impressive prices. Fire agates with their iridescent flashes of red, and moss agates with green inclusions that look like tiny plants are among the most popular. There are also eye agates with perfect concentric circles, and dendritic agates which mimic the look of fossilized branches or leaves, but are actually just mineral inclusions. As I've shown before here on the channel, some agates can reach incredible prices depending on their color and formation. While common ones might sell for just a few dollars, a large specimen with a unique pattern and high-quality polish can easily surpass $1,000. In fact, some collectors are willing to pay much more for particularly rare or visually stunning stones. If you want to increase your chances of finding a good agate, here's a tip. Check river gravels right after heavy rains. Fresh water flow often exposes new stones, and with some practice, you'll quickly recognize the banded patterns, even on broken fragments. Another tip, check the weight. Since agates are quartz-based, they're heavier than most pebbles that look similar on the outside. You'll often see cheaper agates sold at local markets and fairs, but some specimens are so unique that once polished, they can easily sell for over $1,000. That's a price comparable to some precious stones. So it's always worth paying attention when you're exploring rivers or spending time in nature. Agates are indeed stones with real potential to be valuable. Besides agates, another stone you can easily find in nature is chalcedony. Chalcedony is a cryptocrystalline variety of quartz, meaning its structure is so fine that individual crystals can only be seen under a microscope. This gives it a smooth texture, a translucent to opaque appearance, and a silky luster that sets it apart from common quartz. It forms when silica-rich solutions infiltrate fractures in volcanic or sedimentary rocks, gradually filling those spaces. Over time, this process produces veins, rounded nodules, or compact masses that collectors can often identify in the field. What many people don't realize is that chalcedony can appear in almost any color. Brown, gray, and whitish tones are the most common, but certain varieties are highly valuable. Blue lace agate, for example, is a type of blue chalcedony with delicate light bands, often used in fine jewelry. Chrysoprase, with its vivid green caused by nickel content, can reach very high prices, especially in translucent, well-cut specimens. There's also purple chalcedony, considered rare and highly sought after by collectors worldwide. Another prized example is pink chalcedony, similar to rose quartz but with a softer, milky glow. When identifying chalcedony in the field, pay close attention to texture. Unlike minerals with obvious cleavage planes, chalcedony usually shows smooth, rounded surfaces without sharp breaks. Fragments found in rivers often look dull on the outside, but reveal translucent edges when wet. That's why even a simple flashlight or direct sunlight can help reveal its inner beauty and distinguish it from ordinary pebbles. Another useful tip: chalcedony often occurs alongside other silica-based gems like quartz, jasper, and agate. If you've already found one of these stones in a region, your chances of finding chalcedony nearby are very high. In some cases, collectors report discovering several color varieties in the same location, which greatly increases the diversity and commercial potential of the find. In the gem market, chalcedony is incredibly versatile. Common gray or brown varieties are sold as ornamental stones at low prices, often used in carvings, simple pendants, or bead necklaces. On the other hand, rarer and more colorful chalcedonies are much more valuable. A high-quality translucent chrysoprase can sell for hundreds of dollars per kilo, while blue or purple chalcedonies, when properly cut and polished, can easily exceed $1,000 per kilo. These values reflect not only their beauty, but also the growing demand among jewelers and designers seeking unique stones for exclusive pieces. Size also plays a role in value. Large, homogeneous chalcedonies with uniform color are rare and can be sliced into slabs or carved into sculptures. Some of the finest specimens end up in private collections or mineral museums. With a hardness of 6.5 to 7 on the Mohs scale, chalcedony is durable and well-suited for rings, bracelets, and other jewelry meant for everyday wear. And then there are chalcedonies with inclusions. Some display moss-like or plant-like patterns known as moss agates, which are technically still chalcedonies. Others show dendritic patterns that look like tiny fossilized branches. These mineral landscapes are especially prized as one-of-a-kind collector's pieces, with prices varying greatly depending on aesthetics. Of course, colorful and rare chalcedonies are harder to find in nature, but they're out there, especially in unexplored areas. That's why hobby collectors and rock hounds often examine any stone with a smooth texture and translucent edges. What looks like just another dull pebble could actually hide vibrant colors and considerable value inside. So if you enjoy exploring and picking up stones, chalcedony is one of the best gems to start with. It comes in many different colors and forms, and what really determines its value is the intensity of the color, translucency, and the natural beauty of its internal patterns. Keep that in mind, and every stone you collect has the potential to become something far more valuable than it appears at first glance. Different types of chalcedony can be sold as commercial gemstones, which is why their price range is wide, anywhere from about $20 to over $1,000 per kilo, depending on quality and rarity. And another stone you will definitely come across almost anywhere you look is quartz. Quartz is the second most abundant mineral in Earth's crust, second only to feldspar. It occurs in virtually all rock types: igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary, which explains its wide variety of forms and colors. When we talk about quartz, we're not just referring to the clear, colorless crystals. Quartz includes a huge family of varieties, ranging from milky quartz to gemstones like amethyst, citrine, rose quartz, smoky quartz, agate, and chalcedony. That diversity means that no matter where you are, there's a real chance of finding some form of quartz, whether on a casual hike, as a hobby prospector, or even in your backyard. The value of quartz as a gemstone comes down to color, clarity, purity, and rarity. Transparent crystals with strong colors and few internal fractures are the most desirable for jewelry. But even quartz with visible inclusions can be valuable, especially when the inclusions form attractive patterns such as golden rudal needles, tourmaline filaments, or tiny trapped liquid bubbles preserved for millions of years. These are known as included quartz, with trade names like rutilated quartz or tourmalinated quartz, both popular in rings and pendants. Another highly prized variety is amethyst, the purple form of quartz. Its color ranges from pale lilac to deep violet, and the most saturated specimens command the highest prices, especially when they show no faded color zones. Citrine, with its yellow to orange tones, forms when quartz containing iron is exposed to heat. Natural citrine is rare but highly sought after, particularly in even-colored stones. Rose quartz, colored by trace elements like titanium or manganese, is widely used in jewelry and decorative pieces. But quartz isn't limited to these well-known varieties. Some rare forms include crocodile quartz, with overlapping crystals resembling reptile skin, and phantom quartz, which reveals ghost-like internal growth layers. These unique features make certain quartz specimens especially collectible. In practice, quartz is relatively easy to identify in the field. It has a hardness of 7 on the Mohs scale, which means it scratches ordinary glass with ease. Its luster is typically glassy, and well-formed crystals show hexagonal shapes with pointed terminations. However, water-worn quartz pebbles are also very common, rounded by rivers and erosion over time. In the United States, classic quartz localities include Arkansas, famous for its large, clear crystals. Many of these mines are open to the public, where visitors can dig their own specimens. Other important states are Colorado, North Carolina, and Maine, known for quartz and pegmatites often associated with tourmaline and beryl. In Brazil, the states of Minas Gerais and Rio Grande do Sul are global producers, while Madagascar, Russia, and India also yield beautiful specimens. In jewelry, quartz is valued not only for its beauty, but also for its abundance, which allows for large gemstones at relatively low prices. That doesn't mean quartz can't be expensive. On the contrary, rare pieces with intense color, sizes over 4 inches, or striking inclusions can fetch prices comparable to traditional precious stones. A fine rutilated quartz, for example, may sell for hundreds of dollars, while entire amethyst geodes can go for thousands on the international market. Beyond jewelry, quartz is also crucial in industry. Thanks to its piezoelectric properties, it's used in watches, electronics, and even satellites. That means that even when quartz doesn't qualify as a gemstone, it still has significant economic importance. This versatility is exactly why quartz is one of the best stones for beginners in gemology. It's common enough that you can easily find it, but at the same time it includes rare varieties that can lead to valuable discoveries. That's why quartz deserves a closer look whenever you come across it. Like opal, jasper, agate, and chalcedony, its value depends on color, patterns, and inclusions. Those details make all the difference when it comes to turning a simple find into something profitable. If possible, consult a local geologist or experienced prospector before you start searching. But if you don't have access to one, I'll leave a link in the description to our Beginner's Gemology ebook, where you'll learn how to identify any stone you find in nature using simple at-home tests without needing expensive equipment. Now imagine you're walking by a river and you spot a heavy, unusual stone with a strange color. The question pops up, is it just a piece of quartz, or could it be a rare chalcedony, maybe even a valuable opal? That moment of uncertainty is the turning point between someone who discovers a fortune and someone who lets an opportunity slip away. The most common mistake beginners make is relying only on appearance or excitement in the moment. And that's exactly where opportunists step in. People who know how to recognize a raw gem and buy it cheaply from those who don't. There are countless cases of stones sold for just a few dollars, later resold for hundreds. To avoid that, you need to be prepared. Always compare with reference stones, pay attention to color, weight, luster, and texture. Repeating this process trains your eye to distinguish valuable gems from common rocks. Simple tools like a pocket loupe, a UV flashlight, and small reference samples make a huge difference in making sure you don't discard something rare. But here's the key. Finding the stone is only half the journey. The other half is knowing what to do with it. Without knowledge, you risk losing money or being tricked. With practice and the right information, however, any discovery can turn into something valuable. And if you want to take the next step with more confidence, our complete guide, Gemology Journey for Beginners, is in the first link in the description. It's a practical resource with photos and real-life examples, designed to work as if you had an expert right by your side in the field. And of course, this doesn't end here. Because if opals, jaspers, and quartz are already impressive, just wait until you learn about another stone that can hide true fortunes: jade. Very few people know how to identify it correctly, but this gem has changed the lives of many explorers. In the next video, you'll learn how to recognize raw jade and why it can be worth as much as, or even more than, many well-known precious stones. So keep your eyes open, because the knowledge you're gaining here could be the difference between walking past an ordinary rock or recognizing an opportunity that could change your life. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Good luck, gem hunter.